Hi there, welcome back. My name's Scott, and welcome back to my channel, Trauma Team Racing. This is lesson 2 in our series, and today we're going to be covering car cornering, exit speed, and an introduction to trail braking. A massive thank you to everybody that's signed up. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we can keep cranking out the content, keep learning together, and getting faster around the track. In this session today, we're going to be building on the fundamentals of what we learned last time in order to control the car better and increase again our speed through the corner. If you haven't heard of trail braking or haven't heard the concept before, this is what this tutorial is about. So sit back, buckle up, grab your cup of coffee, get caffeinated. Class is in session. This is lesson 2, and today we're going to be looking at corner car control and exit speed, which fundamentally leads to an introduction to the concept of trail braking. We're going to build on what we learned in lesson 1. Lesson 1 we learned about the position of the racing line and how to plan our journey along the track. That's not enough. We need to know where to accelerate and where to brake to maximize our speed through the corners. We're going to now start to build up and look at our car control through the corner, both on entry into and exit through and out of the corner and onto the straight. It's okay to know where the best position to put the car is, but we need to know how to handle the car in the most ideal fashion to maximize that position on the track. For this session, we're going to have 3 specific aims. Firstly, we're going to look at the concept of threshold braking and what exactly that means. Secondly, we're going to talk about something that I like to call grip economy. And lastly, we're going to look at how we can combine both acceleration, braking, and cornering, and how we can manipulate those things in tandem to maximize our exit speed out of the corner and increase our speed along the straight. This leads us onto the concept of trail braking. Same as before, we'll be splitting this into 2 separate segments. Firstly, a theory section, looking at the theory through a series of diagrams in order to better explain the concepts we're discussing. Secondly, we'll be moving on to a demonstration in Assetto Corsa Competizione to explain these theories better through a series of demonstrations out on the track. Although this time we may mix and match in order to better explain the concepts as we go through. Let's get into it.
Threshold braking is defined as using 100% of a car's ability/grip to brake in a straight line. If whilst threshold braking, i.e. using 100% of the car's grip allocation and then attempting to corner, the car will simply not turn. Let's look at this in a quick demonstration. So here we go, 100% braking force, we attempt to turn the car and the car simply doesn't turn. We'll look at that from another angle, full acceleration down the straight, full braking application, 100% grip allocated, attempt to turn the car, and it simply doesn't turn around the corner. I like to think about grip as a finite resource, which can be allocated between braking, acceleration, and cornering. If we think of grip as a percentage, we'll have grip on the y-axis, and then our corresponding allocations on the x-axis, braking, acceleration, and cornering. We can see that there is a limit to the allocation of grip available. In the case of threshold braking, as just discussed, 100% of the grip is allocated to the braking force. Therefore, there is none left for acceleration, which you wouldn't use when you were braking anyway, and there is none left for cornering, which you might want to use. Ultimately, there needs to be a compromise. If you wish to turn whilst braking aggressively, you need to lay off the brakes a little bit, let's say 80% braking force, which means you can allocate 20% of that grip force into cornering/steering. This is the concept called trail braking. Same goes for acceleration, particularly out of a corner. If you want to accelerate at threshold, as in your foot is to the floor, that means 100% of the grip must be allocated to acceleration. However, if you wish to corner, there's no extra grip left for that cornering ability. As we accelerate out of the corner, there needs to be a compromise somewhere. In this case, we lay off the acceleration slightly, meaning there is less grip needed to be allocated to this force. Let's say 80%. This means that 20% of grip can therefore be allocated to cornering. This will make a little bit more sense once we see it applied on a schematic of a corner on the racetrack. In this first diagram, let's use a similar example to what we used in the last tutorial. Before you was a simple right angle corner represented on a racetrack. The red line is threshold braking, and the double curved line represents the racing line as we enter and exit the corner. The green arrow represents the acceleration point and subsequent acceleration down the straight. If we use 100% of the car's grip for its cornering ability, we can only start to turn once threshold braking has been released, so we have enough grip allocation for our corner. If we use 100% grip for the corner, we can then only accelerate once the car has righted itself and is now pointing straight down the straight. This is represented at the acceleration point. However, let's look what happens if we change some of these parameters. In this example, the car enters the turn at 50 miles an hour and exits the turn at 50 miles an hour. There is no acceleration or deceleration that happens throughout the corner. However, let's look at introducing an acceleration point mid-corner. If we enter that corner whilst threshold braking with using 100% grip and then initiating the corner at a slightly slower speed, let's say 48 miles per hour, we can then accelerate at the cornering point because we still have some grip left for allocation. As we remember from our previous tutorial, if we increase the car's speed at 100% grip, the radius of the curvature of the arc of the circle will also increase. This will increase the curve of the racing line. If we accelerate at the acceleration point, represented near the apex in this diagram, the car will exit this corner at 53 miles an hour, faster than if we had just used threshold braking and hadn't utilized acceleration throughout the corner represented in the previous example. In this final example, we'll now add braking into the mix. So as we entered the corner, we utilized threshold braking to slow the car down in a straight line. As we turn into the corner, we then ease off the brake slightly, allowing some of that grip allocation for cornering. This is represented by the highlighted red line on the racing line. As we approach the apex, we then gradually put on the acceleration, allocating some of that grip for cornering and acceleration to the point where we put our foot down when the car is pointing straight down the straight. And this is the technique called trail braking. So to summarize, the car approaches the corner utilizing threshold braking. It enters the corner at 50 miles per hour, and the acceleration zone is entered at 48 miles per hour. The radius of curvature increases due to the increased car speed to accommodate the grip, and then the exit speed is 53 miles an hour. Although the same exit speed as the previous example, because of the trail braking zone, less time is spent during the corner and decreases the time through the corner. Let's look at a quick example in Assetto Corsa Competizione. So here we are at Brands Hatch again, and you'll find that every input we've just spoken about happens very, very quickly. So we're going to slow this down in order to explain things a little better. What I want you to focus on is the brake application and acceleration application on the bottom right. We'll magnify this. As we approach the corner, we have full acceleration before applying 100% brakes, i.e. threshold braking. As we turn into the corner, the braking pressure is gradually released, allowing some of that grip to be allocated for the corner. Once through the corner, then gradual application of the throttle happens in order to accelerate through the corner and subsequent putting the foot down for full acceleration down the straight. Let's look at that one more time. So we've got full application of the brakes, we're turning in, gradually releasing the braking pressure, entering the corner, hitting the apex, gradually putting on the throttle once again until the car is fully straight, and then full application of the throttle as we straighten the car up.
So now we should have a good concept of what threshold braking means and how we can apply that out on track. We've now looked at the concept of grip economy and how if you want to corner and accelerate, you have to give a little bit in the grip somewhere. You can't 100% brake and then expect the car to be able to corner as well. We've also looked at how we can sacrifice grip from braking and dedicating that to a bit more of the corner and subsequent acceleration, that we could increase our speed out of the exit of the corner and ultimately down the straight, increasing ultimately our lap times. This is indeed the concept of trail braking, which you may have heard, which is touted through many sim racing forums and groups, and people keep talking about it, and for a long time I had absolutely no idea what it meant. So hopefully now it's a little bit more clear. Like anything, it needs practice. I myself am not perfect and I've still got a long way to go, but like anything, practice, 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 and you will get better. Not perfect maybe, but you will get better. Again, a big thank you to everybody who subscribed. If you've liked this content, please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the alert button, press the like button. Really appreciate it. In the next lesson, we're going to be taking it back to basics and looking at the fundamentals of steering wheel technique, otherwise known as how to hold the wheel. So once again, thank you for watching. Take care. See you in the next one. Bye for now.